House bill exempts companies of 500 employees or more from the paid sick leave requirement, and that's 54% of the American workplace. Why is it a good idea to only require small businesses to provide paid sick leave?
Well, we're looking at that, and we may be expanding that.
This weekend,
we want it for everybody. No, we're looking at that through the Senate, because as you know, the Senate is now digesting that bill. So we may very well be adding something on that.
President Trump today addressing a major sticking point in the coronavirus aid package that was put forward by House Democrats. Now the aid package heads to the Senate. And this comes on the heels of Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin meeting with GOP senators about a third aid package earlier today. Now, we're delighted to be joined by a couple of people. We have two congressmen, Andy Biggs, of course, one of our go-to people when it comes to talking about the minutia of these bills and what's really good, maybe not so good in them, and Mark Green. Congressman Biggs, let's start with you. There's a concern on the part of some that this aid package isn't enough, and it doesn't move fast enough, and it doesn't give money to the people who need it the most. It takes too long to kick in. Mitt Romney and Senator Tom Cotton want to send checks right to affected Americans. Romney wants $1,000 to go to every American, I believe, and Cotton wants a check to go to the people hit hardest. Congressman Biggs, what of those two ideas?
Well, I think Senator Romney's is bad, and Mr. Cotton's kind of getting right closer to the point, because this bill, the way it rolls out, is if you have 51 employees, this bill is going to really hammer you, because 51 to 499 employees means that you're going to have to provide extra paid leave, extra family medical leave as well, and they're going to give you what's called a refundable tax credit. But by the time a lot of these businesses get their refundable tax credit, think of a 55-employee restaurant, they're going to be out of business before they get that tax credit back, because they simply can't afford to pay these folks all that leave. And so I think postponing that mandate, so where it's an unfunded mandate until you get a tax credit, that is really detrimental to the small business and can be very harmful for this economy.
Now, Senator Braun, we're also joined by Senator Mike Braun from the great state of Indiana. I think we'll punch him up in a second. I think he's there. Senator Braun, it's good to see you. I keep getting texts and emails from small business and medium-sized business owners who are saying, and they're caring people. They're giving gifts to their employees, trying to help them who are at home, trying to find child care for them. But they say, we're going to be out of business. If we have to pay, and it's a mandate to pay sick leave, we're going to be out of business. And meanwhile, the big businesses are totally exempt from this. So what if we get bankrupt businesses at the end of this wonderful period of time where we're all sheltering in our houses and this passes?
I had those same texts over the weekend, and the National Federation of Independent Businesses, NFIB, is against the bill as well for the very reasons you talked about. We talked about it among some conservative senators this evening, and there are some adjustments that need to be made. We cannot just rubber stamp this and get it across to get something done. So small businesses, almost in unanimity, and I talked to a bunch of them over the weekend, don't like the structure of this bill. It can be fixed because the intent of helping small businesses and wage earners is important. Why it's not impacting businesses with 500 or more employees, that's another issue to talk about. But this bill as it is needs to be repaired.
Congressman Green, your thoughts on where we are moving from that specific sticking point, which is a big one, and potentially will just bankrupt thousands of businesses across America with great employees and great CEOs. Where are we now in the administration's response? Are you satisfied with the pace that things are moving, specifically the testing?
Yeah, absolutely. The public-private partnerships, President Trump has done several things in the course of this that I think are very, very helpful. One, flattening the curve with the travel ban initially, and then the emergency declaration, which did a lot of things, but in that same briefing, he talked about the public-private partnerships that get those tests out there. So I think the improvements have hit there. You're going to see the tests hitting the nation all this week. Very, very pleased about that. I did want to add, though, the technical corrections today, 89 pages of a bill correcting a 110-page bill that they dropped on us and had us vote on in about 15 minutes.
Right, nobody read it. This is what I'm saying. And I know everyone doesn't want to be called, lacking in compassion. You're not for helping people. But isn't this, Congressman Biggs, what we criticize Democrats for, and we've got to pass the bill to find out what's in it? Then Mitch McConnell and Senator Braun and others are saying, whoa, wait a second. What we do now is really important. We got to help the people affected, but we cannot shut businesses down across the country because they can't comply with this. So a lot of you guys didn't even read this legislation. 40 Republicans voted against it, and they're being trashed all over America because they voted against it.
Yeah, as one of the persons getting trashed, I can tell you they gave us 12 minutes to read the bill, and then
it's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. And so you get bad process leads to bad policy, and that's exactly why Senator Braun's saying, hey, this needs substantial work. And like Rep. Green just said, a 90-page technical correction bill that's filled with substantive matters to try to correct all of the flaws in it, and it still didn't correct all the flaws. Right. And so you're going to have so it makes bad politics too. So you get bad process, makes bad policy, makes bad politics, and that's what this bill did. And it's just it's an outrage. And Laura, we said about Obamacare, we teased Nancy Pelosi, who said you have to read pass it to know what's in it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal.
Senator, hold on, I got to ask Senator Braun a question here. Senator, this is only going to be the beginning of many bills, including what people are saying is a bailout of the airline industry. Airline industry has been charging for pillows and blankets and printing money. Good for them. But is that we should be bailing out the airline industry? Is that coming too?
This can't be the new normal because we run trillion-dollar deficits. It begs the question of how you'd even begin to do that, setting a pattern here. We focus on people really impacted, wage earners and small businesses. And, Laura, one thing, I spent a half an hour with the governor, lieutenant governor, and state agencies in Indiana. Have some solace that we're not going to solve this at the federal government level. We've got plenty of beds in Indiana. We are on full alert. I think we're going to learn a whole lot more over the next 15 days, and we're going to find when we sort all through this, the 2 travel bans were the biggest upfront investments we made in tamping this down from the get-go, and that's why I think we'll have a flat curve going forward. I really do.
Yeah, well, it's hard to see that America is going to last past 15 days of not being able to leave their houses. I think that's going to be that can't be a new normal. That keeps happening every flu season. Gentlemen, thank you very much.